If you traveled back to the year 1200 and asked someone for a glass of water, there's a good chance they would hesitate. Not because they were rude. Not because they didn't understand the question. But because from their perspective, you had just asked for something dangerous. Today, water is the safest drink most people can imagine. It's in every home, every restaurant, every office. We carry it around in reusable bottles and track how many liters we drink each day. But for most of human history, water wasn't automatically safe. In many places, it was one of the most effective ways to get yourself sick. And that's why one of the strangest facts about the medieval world is also one of the most misunderstood. People drank beer every day. Not because they were constantly partying. Not because everyone was an alcoholic. And not because medieval people were too primitive to know better. They drank beer because, quite often, it was the smarter choice. Modern people tend to imagine the Middle Ages as an era filled with ignorance. We pictured dirty streets, terrible hygiene, and people making random decisions because they didn't understand science. But that's not really how humans work. People don't need microscopes to notice patterns. They don't need germ theory to realize that one drink keeps making people sick while another doesn't. Imagine living in a crowded medieval city. There are no water treatment plants. No filtration systems. No underground sanitation networks. Human waste ends up in rivers. Animal waste ends up in rivers. Industrial waste ends up in rivers. Dead things occasionally end up in rivers. And then that same water gets collected for drinking. Nobody knows what bacteria are. Nobody has heard of viruses. But people can still connect the dots. Drink certain water. Get sick. Drink something else. Stay alive. After enough generations, that lesson becomes culture. That's where beer enters the story. Not modern craft beer. Not strong IPAs. Not expensive imported lagers. Small beer was a weak, low-alcohol drink that often contained only a tiny amount of alcohol. It wasn't designed to get people drunk. It was designed to be consumed throughout the day. Children drank it. Workers drank it. Monks drank it. Families drank it with meals. For many people, it functioned less like alcohol and more like a safer form of hydration. And once you understand how it was made, the logic becomes obvious. Brewing involves heating water. Heating kills many harmful microorganisms. Fermentation creates an environment that is far less welcoming to dangerous pathogens. The result wasn't perfect, but compared to contaminated water, it was often a much safer option. What's fascinating is that this wasn't unique to medieval Europe. Again and again throughout history, civilizations discovered fermentation. Ancient Egyptians drank beer extensively. Mesopotamians brewed it. Various cultures across Asia developed fermented beverages. Wherever humans settled and struggled with water quality, fermentation kept appearing. Different continents. Different languages. Different religions. Same solution. When safe water is uncertain, fermented drinks become incredibly useful. One of the most surprising examples comes from ancient Egypt. Workers were sometimes compensated with beer rations. To modern ears, that sounds absurd. Imagine receiving your paycheck in alcohol. But beer wasn't merely entertainment. It contained calories. It provided hydration. It was a practical resource. In many ways, it functioned more like food than a recreational substance. Entire labor systems relied on it. Entire economies incorporated it. Entire societies normalized it. When viewed through a modern lens, it seems bizarre. When viewed through their lens, it makes perfect sense. And that's really the lesson hidden inside this story. We often confuse knowledge with intelligence. Medieval people didn't know about bacteria. But they knew what worked. They didn't understand microbes. But they understood consequences. The scientific explanation came centuries later. The observation came first. People survived long before they understood why survival strategies worked. That's true for farming. It's true for medicine. And it's true for alcohol. The funny part is what happened afterward. For thousands of years, fermented beverages often served a practical purpose. Then humanity gradually solved the water problem. We built reservoirs, filtration systems, treatment facilities, pipes, pumps, sanitation networks. We created one of the greatest public health achievements in human history. Clean water became normal. So normal, in fact, that most people rarely think about it. You turn a handle. Water appears. Safe. Reliable. Boring. And that's exactly why it's easy to overlook how extraordinary it actually is. Meanwhile, the drink that once helped people avoid contaminated water transformed into something completely different. Beer became culture. It became entertainment. It became a hobby. Entire industries emerged around flavor profiles, brewing techniques, and regional traditions. The thing that once helped people survive became something people discuss on internet forums. There's a strange irony in that. Our ancestors drank beer because they had to. Many modern people drink it because they want to. The same liquid. Completely different relationship. And maybe that's why stories like this matter. Because they remind us how invisible infrastructure has become. Most of the systems keeping modern civilization alive are things nobody notices until they fail. Clean water. Electricity. Waste management. Food safety. The medieval peasant thought about water every day because water could kill him. Most modern people don't think about water at all. That's actually a sign of success. The system works so well that we've forgotten it's there. But history has a habit of reminding people that civilization isn't automatic. Safe water isn't natural. It's engineered. It's maintained. It's protected by millions of hours of labor, planning, science, and infrastructure. Remove those systems, and the old problems return surprisingly fast. The next time you fill a glass from the tap, take a second to appreciate how unusual that experience would look to most humans who have ever lived. A medieval farmer would see that glass and think it was a luxury. An ancient laborer might consider it miraculous. For them, clean water wasn't a default setting. It was a dream. And the strange thing is that we're living inside that dream right now. The real question isn't whether medieval people were primitive for drinking beer. The real question is whether modern people fully understand how much effort it takes to make water boring.